What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Sixers Digest YouTube channel. My name is Sean Bernard, as usual, and today I'm back with things coming from bad to worse in the Sixers world, with Joel Embiid showing his first signs of unhappiness with the franchise and why this could ultimately be the demise of the Sixers as we currently know them. Before I fully dive into it, make sure you guys hit that bell, ring that bell, make sure you subscribe, drop a like on this video, subscribe to this channel. We're just getting started over here at Sixers Digest, and I'm excited, so make sure you're up to tune with all the latest. Now, to get into what motivated me to hop on and talk today, the potential worst-case scenario as Joel Embiid has taken away the words processing and the location of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania from his Twitter bio. Now, normally, I think these things are very overblown and that this isn't much to read into, but I do think it's an exception when it comes to Joel Embiid, that this is a guy who's one of the most media-savvy and most online athletes in all of sports, especially the NBA. We've seen the way he's trolled in years past, the way he's weaponized social media to make a point or get things across, whether it be tweeting a meme right after Ben Simmons are traded or making comments. He's certainly settled down in his ways from when he first came to the NBA, but it is still something that he frequently uses. And he's just too in the know and too in touch with everything not to pay attention to him fully removing this. So for me, I think this is very clear that this comes right on the heel of the James Harden comments of him calling Daryl Morey a liar. I know we've all seen this a million times, but I did want to pull it up once again.
Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say it again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again.
So these type of comments from James Harden are due to cause a response in everyone within the organization. We've heard that Daryl Morey is unbothered by these, but I just don't believe that to be the case because this is the type of shocking statement that has put out that causes some response. Now, me and Casey have each dropped some videos. I dropped one yesterday on my full comments and breakdowns on that specifically. But the bigger picture here is how this impacts Joel Embiid. That Daryl Morey and James Harden are kind of like these divorced parents going at it, that they're sick of each other, have been together too long, they're not seeing eye to eye anymore. But who ultimately gets hurt in this situation when it's the two divorced parents coming out of it is the kids. And it's the kid sitting off the side is Joel Embiid, who's the centerpiece of the Sixers franchise. So while Harden and Daryl Morey kind of hash out their beef, their war of words on who's right, who's wrong, and everything in that situation, it's Joel Embiid that's the real question. And if this doesn't sit right with Joel Embiid, that will cause some massive change. And we already saw earlier this offseason him making the comment that he wants to, quote, I just want to win a championship, whatever it takes. I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's in Philly or anywhere else. I just want to have a chance. That was something that stirred the pot within the Sixers communities, and rightfully so, because that was our first sign of Joel Embiid even considering playing for another franchise. He's been a guy kind of cut from that Damian Lillard mold, who obviously is now demanding out as well, so maybe not the best example of how it ages. And Joel deserves a massive amount of respect for his loyalty to the Sixers franchise, for him being the stability of the Sixers franchise over the past decade, the way that he has survived 5 general managers total when you include the Elton Brand and Brett Brown stints for the brief time that they took over. He's on his 3rd coach, had over 200 teammates at this point. The Sixers have been a revolving door as a franchise, and Joel Embiid has really been that sign of stability. But we cannot be naive and not understand how the NBA works these days and look around and see the way stars are hopping teams, the way players have the power to command where they want to play. And Joel Embiid absolutely fits that bill. This is a guy who, even with the knocks off him, even coming off a disappointing playoff where he did not play up to the standard that we were hoping, he's still one of the top 5 talents in the NBA pretty much undisputably. And even with his shortcomings, he's the type of talent that every single franchise in the NBA should be itching to get their hands on. And the Sixers should be in no rush to give up whatsoever. So the question is, how does he look at this James Harden situation? It's a little bit different than the Ben Simmons thing. At least Joel hated Ben Simmons. That was quite clear. And even with the fronts that both of them put on, there was plenty of reports indicating that they did not see eye to eye. That is not the case with James Harden. All the comments between Joel and James have been nothing short of positive. I think Joel likes James, and even after things first broke, when the first trade request and Harden saying that he didn't want to be back in Philly, Joel going out and saying that that's still my brother no matter what, that I hope he comes back, I hope he changes his mind, but I understand the business is the business. So there's much more of a warm feeling between Harden and Embiid, and I think from Morey's perspective, the best case scenario is clearly James Harden returning. Harden's made it clear that that is not his best case scenario, that he wants just about everything else outside of that. It also brings up the question of Harden making it quite clear that it's Daryl Morey that he has a problem with, saying that I will never be a part of an organization that Daryl Morey is a part of. So that does bring into this power balance of what are the chances of the Sixers organization choosing James Harden over Daryl Morey. The big driving force for why Daryl Morey was brought into Philadelphia was to secure that second star. That is James Harden. And even with the shortcomings that you can bring up for him, and believe me, there are plenty from the playoffs and him not looking his best when the lights shine the brightest, he's still a better second option than Joel Embiid has ever had before. And he's still a guy that was able to turn back the clock, score 40-plus points in 2 playoffs, still a guy that led the NBA in assists during the regular season. It's tough to go up from James Harden in terms of building a balanced team. And it's very clear he's got a strong chemistry with Joel Embiid on the court. They're the best pick and roll partner across the NBA. They had some really high numbers as far as the efficiency in each of these. Embiid was statistically the best roll man across the entire NBA, although it was at a slightly lower volume than some of the other players on that list. Harden, up there in the mix for the best pocket passers and best pick and roll passers across the NBA. I believe he ranked third across the entire league on a much higher efficiency or much higher volume, on that one. And still pretty efficient as far as he shot well from 3 last year, the second best rate of his career. There are signs of progress, and Harden at his best is exactly the player that the Sixers need. But Harden has dug his heels in, set it in stone that he has no business being back, and it looks like he is dead set on doing everything possible to force out. I also think it's notable to bring up that PJ Tucker himself also shed a little light on his side of the story and put on his Instagram story a picture of him and Harden with the lyrics to the song going off that I'm not acrobatic, I'm not flipping on my bros. A lot of people are taking that to mean that he is sticking with James Harden over Daryl Morey in this situation, which is also not a good sign. And this is not to say that PJ Tucker is the Sixers must cater to PJ Tucker's wishes and make sure that he's happy. To be honest, I think he's a likely trade candidate, and I have another video dropping soon talking about why I think that is potentially the case. But for Tucker, he's very clearly a James Harden guy, that they played their best years together in Houston. He's a more valuable player on the court alongside James Harden. They've got an awesome chemistry as far as Tucker coming up, setting screens, setting ghost screens, getting open for threes, setting corner three looks that are created by James Harden off the drive and dish. All those things, they're very, very tight-fitting players on the court together, that they work well together. So if there is a world where James Harden is not coming back, PJ Tucker is not as valuable to the Sixers as he would be if James Harden is on the roster. And that is something to keep in mind. I think it's in Tucker's best interest for his career to stick to James Harden's side, that if Harden demands out, it's not a bad idea to follow him where he goes, because he is the primetime pretty much mold of player that you want to pair those two with. Tucker's a low-usage player on the offensive end, that he's purely a catch-and-shoot guy, a guy that will battle for offensive rebounds and do the grunt work. And defensively, he can make up for Harden's shortcomings in that area. So they are a good-fitting duo, and it did make sense to bring them in together, as was the case for the Sixers last offseason. Now, to circle back to Joel Embiid specifically, which is the basis of this video and the focus of the franchise at this point, the Sixers must find a way to navigate the situation in a way that does not impact Joel Embiid's future. If they upset Joel Embiid, that is the worst case scenario, with or without James Harden. If Joel is unhappy, the Sixers are not in good shape. And there's been a ton of talk. I mean, frankly, the championship window is just not that firmly open anymore. You can still squeeze it. There's still a crack. It's not completely closed that you can squint and think, okay, if things break exactly right, they have a chance. But we're not looking at this like unlimited opportunity in the way that was the case a few years ago. And the championship window is solely reliant on Joel Embiid. As much as it's frustrating, as much as people are down on Embiid, more so than really ever before in his career, this is the first time coming off the postseason exit that he's caught majority of the blame, and a little bit unfair because he was battling through the meniscus injury and not playing at 100% and still played at a pretty good level for stretches. I know the statistics regress, but he was a force defensively, but there's still a sour taste that is left from that Game 7 loss and the lack of effort that showed up at periods of time. But to build around Embiid, he has to be here. He has to be bought in. This has to be his team. He has to be looking and be happy. And I can't imagine that another superstar being chased out the door will do wonders for that. We're talking about he's already lost Jimmy Butler, already lost Ben Simmons, now James Harden. Harden, who he has looked to have the best rapport with both on and off the court. Jimmy, there's a strong argument for as well. If now he just walks out, it's not a good look. And this sell for this cap space plan that these Sixers keep harping back to, and Daryl Morey has brought up that they could be in the unique position to still be a contender and have basically unlimited cap space if they do clear things out, if they allow Tobias' contract to go off the books at the end of the season, if they allow Harden's contract to go off the books at the end of the season, that creates over $70 million in cap space right there, in addition to a couple other players going off as well. Montrezl Harrell's one of them, a couple other guys around there that are on one-year deals. that is all great in theory, but it only works if players are willing to come to Philadelphia. And for all these reasons that we harped on the offseason about like what a mess this franchise is and the lack of poorly run decisions that have been made, why would any player want to come to Philadelphia? This has already been a difficult spot to lure free agents to. That Al Horford is the biggest free agent signing that has been done within the past this era of Sixers basketball, and he hated it here. Al Horford was miserable from the second he signed, and he did not last long and was traded in one of Morey's first moves in control of the Sixers franchise. That, of course, brought back Danny Green, which ultimately proved to be a solid move, but cost the Sixers a first-round pick to get that deal done. So, in theory, you can sell this cap space plan, but the bottom line is, like, I don't see a reality which this works. I don't see Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby, and there really is not this lengthy list of high-level free agents that will be available come the next offseason. Those will be the pristine options that they can pick from. But it takes two to tango. It takes them wanting to come to Philadelphia for them to be able to sign. Yes, money's great. Maybe the most money gets the job done. But if there is a comparable offer on another franchise that maybe has a little better reputation for stability than Philadelphia, which is about as bottom of the barrel as you can get when it comes to the NBA right now, they're going to take that. They're going to go where they feel best or where the best outlook is for them on their career. So from now on, the Sixers have to be careful that they're playing a dangerous game, that it is not a great sign to see the superstar of the franchise teasing and making a statement by removing things from his Twitter profile. So from now on, the Sixers must be catering to Joel's need. I know it is frustrating how stars run the NBA in such a firm way, but if Embiid wants out, we are back to square zero, that we are back to rebuilding and figuring things out from here. There's a real argument to be made why that could be the right decision, but unless Embiid is driving that himself, the Sixers should be doing everything possible to stay contending. We will see what happens from here. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on if you think Joel's serious, if he's just trolling, everything else. And we'll be back with you, as always, on Sixers Digest. Peace.